Dr. Poland, there's lots to get through, but I wanted to start in that South African study that shows 70% protection against hospitalizations with a two-shot dose of the Pfizer vaccine, but only 33% effective against getting the variant. What's your assessment of those numbers?
Well, I think those are preliminary numbers, but I think they are likely to be correct numbers. In other words, the vaccine, and this has been true all the way through the pandemic, the vaccine is much better at blocking significant severe disease, hospitalization, and death than it is in preventing mild and even moderate infection.
Just in terms of the big picture, are you worried right now?
I am, Guy, and I think, this is news no one wants to hear. My own prediction, and I'll use a kind of loaded word, I think we're going to have an explosion of cases. And the reason for that is the extreme transmissibility and infectiousness of this variant will lead to an exponential rise in cases. And the problem with exponentiality is that humans are very poor decision makers under conditions of exponentiality. Looking at what this is doing, by this week or next week, Omicron will be the dominant virus in the UK and in Denmark. It is getting to that stage in the state of Washington, and the US will follow all the way through, as will then the rest of the world.
So, Dr. Poland, clearly that's a tough word to hear, explosion, when it comes to COVID cases. On the other side of the balance here, you have effective vaccines. You have the COVID Pfizer pill that seems to be also very good at preventing hospitalizations. You have the theory that if you have this less severe strain, even if it's more transmissible, becoming the dominant variant, that's actually a good thing. People will develop their own natural immunity along with vaccines. What is your assessment of those sort of on the other side of the ledger?
Yeah, and that's, Alex, you're exactly right. There's a tension there, isn't there? Let's call it two sides of the coin. On the one hand, we've got a highly infectious variant, only 60% of Americans fully vaccinated, widespread rejection and hesitancy in regards to wearing masks, distancing, the vaccine, cold weather, extraordinary amounts of travel during the holidays. The other side of that coin is, while we have two threats, Delta and Omicron, we have one solution. And that solution is to get boosted, to get fully immunized and boosted and wear masks. Now, what happens when somebody gets infected? That's where, we have reason to celebrate. By the way, we're celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the first rollout of the mRNA Pfizer vaccine, which is a great human achievement. But we should also celebrate the fact that the death rate has generally fallen from COVID, because we now know how to better take care of those patients, how to ventilate them, what drugs are effective and the many drugs that are not, antivirals, as you mentioned, and monoclonal antibodies. In fact, one of the interesting things is a set of 2 monoclonal antibodies that's now been approved for prevention, so for pre-exposure risk. They protect people for as long as 6 months.
Final quick question from me, Dr. Poland. As you say, we now have, we are well on our way here in the UK and over in Denmark to Omicron being the dominant variant. How important, in terms of our understanding of what comes next, will the next 2 or 3 weeks be, maybe even the next 10 days be, here in the UK? If we see the largely boosted 40 to 50-year-old plus population having a pickup in hospitalizations, do we then have a massive problem, a global problem? If we don't get that, can we dismiss Omicron as being a serious threat?
Yeah, no question. I don't know that we can do that, Guy, within 10 days, but I think over the next several weeks to a month, we'll have a much better idea. Remember that hospitalizations lag behind case rates, and death lags behind hospitalization. So you're talking about a month plus to really understand that. And remember, one thing I think people forget about, think about at the next level. When you have this contagious and mutated a variant, is that a setup for that variant mutating and becoming something yet worse?